I might not be able. What's up, Chostra?
No, it's no, I could see it.
I'm glad the chat's working. I was having some trouble with it when I was starting. You kept saying the chat was offline on my screen, but luckily I'm able to see it. What's up, Jake? Good afternoon. That's good. Chat's working. Alright, today I'm gonna go inside. See how that goes. I mean, kind of inside, but inside the campus, like. What's up, Shifty? Shifty Eyes? Lev? Yeah, the energy's everywhere, huh? Positive energy's everywhere. It's just about connecting to it, right? I forgot how I went up this. I think it was through here. I think there was a ramp going straight, but didn't want to risk it. What's up, one man and his detector? David Banner, what's up? There was a ramp over here, I forgot. Could have took this ramp instead. Oh well. What's up, Veritas? The Sute? Is that how you pronounce that? the Sute? I'm horrible with pronunciation. What's up, Papa Will? Oh man, the whole grass area is closed off where I usually post up. We'll take a quick look. Oh no, the patch of grass where I usually post up is not being covered, which is good. There is like a little event or some chairs and tables. I don't know if you guys can see it. Oh, it's a graduation. Or somewhat, I think. What's up, Ricardo? PG. I'll be posting up right here. There's something going on over there, and they do have this closed off a bit, but yeah. It's a good spot, the good old spot. Alright, time to set up. I'll put it right there. Alright, here's how it looks. Just to get a quick look. We're going with Do You Trust Your Common Sense today. There we go. I gotta set up the action cam now. There we go. Okay. Not completely leveled. Should be fine. Alright, pretty much set up. Adidas always brings you back to corn. I don't know what corn, I mean the band corn, I don't know what corn you're referring to. Let me see. Alright, 11:06 a.m. here in Riverside, California. Oh, okay. Right on, right on. So, the title of the video, right? Objective truths versus subjective truths. Since there's a lot of people in the last video commenting me about religion and how Jesus, you know, believing in Jesus, you know, it's the way, and understanding scripture, you know, all that. So I figured, you know, we could talk about it a little bit, right? So when it comes to, in my opinion, establishing the shape of the earth and what earth actually is, you know, as an objective, as a physical, real thing, right? That's, you know, I feel like, I mean, I think that falls, I mean, it falls under objective truth, under natural science. That's what objective truth is, in, you know, my opinion. I mean, you could disagree. I would love to hear other opinions, but objective truth has to do with natural science, meaning it has to be testable, measurable, and repeatable. It has to be measured in some kind of way, you know. It has to be a real three-dimensional object that we can test, you know, and do things with, right? That's the study of the natural world. That's objective truth, you know, natural science, right? Now we got subjective truths, right? Which, in my opinion, has to do with historical or personal events that happen to you, or emotions and feelings that you get when, you know, you see certain things, you know, it triggers certain emotions. It has to do with psychology, you know, kind of like spirituality, right? I would say those are subjective truths that cannot be measured, physically measured, right? So to claim that religion, scripture, you know, I would say those are subjective truths, because it has to do more with psychology and how human behavior and storytelling, you know. It has nothing to do with the objective world, you know. It has nothing to do with natural science, basically. So when people talk about religion and just believing in Jesus and stuff like that, that's personal, meaning you can't prove that. You know, again, another thing about subjective truths, they have to do with lies as well. So if people believe a lie, to them that's true. You know what I'm saying? So it's a subjective truth, you know, in my opinion, because you have to believe it, you know. So when it comes to, again, when somebody has an experience, you know, and they share that experience with someone, that's their truth, right? Again, I'm not gonna deny that you didn't have that experience, but I'm not gonna 100% believe it. You know, it's just not how my mind works anymore. Like, I'm open to hearing people's stories and all that. I just don't 100% believe any stories now. You know, if I want to determine what this reality is, how physics works, you know, the natural world, natural science, then I go with the practical. I'll go with objective truth. You know, if I want to determine what this place actually is, you know, and the geometry of it and everything about it physically, objective truth is where I stand. You know, the subjective part, you know, that's personal. You know, people have to come up with those conclusions on their own. You can't really, you know, bring these things out to show them to people, you know, like the way you think, for example, the way you feel about certain things, what you believe. You can't prove it to other people, you know. It's just the way it is. So I mean, I'd love to hear some thoughts on that. If anyone's going to believe the official timeline error is Christianity should be the most ancient and everlasting of the psyops. There you go. Yeah. Don't feel I have much common sense when I'm looking back upon enormous mistakes I've made in life. What do you think? Though some people get this type of common sense, yet others never do. I think everyone's capable of critical thinking and, you know, standing up for themselves, right? Having a spine, right? Having discernment. Everyone's capable of achieving that, in my opinion. The reason why we see the opposite now, that majority don't have the capability to do that, is because the school system, you know, not only is the system in play, you know, but within the system we have the schooling system, right? How they school you, it's literally in the language, but that's why they get us when we're so young, because that's the only way that they're able to engrave doubt in your mind, you know, to commit to yourself, to your common sense, to your intuition. They have to get you from a very young age to cripple that, you know. So once they cripple you when you're young, then you're gonna be more easily controlled when you're older. So you know, since that happens to the majority of us, I mean, I went through the schooling system. I'm pretty sure the majority of you have as well. We're all being crippled from the start. So it's no doubt, it's obvious basically that the majority don't use common sense, basically, because again, we've all been crippled. The majority of us went through the same indoctrination. So I still think that it's just, you know, it's just a shift that needs to happen. You know, some people are just too stubborn, you know, and they're just gonna pass away. I mean, they're gonna pass away ignorant. A lot of people have, and a lot of people will. But that doesn't change the whole, you know, the whole, you know, the collective. This information can't be stopped, you know, the truth. I'm just a messenger, you know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of other people like me, I'm pretty sure, offline especially, that are just, we're all just messengers, you know? It's all about representing the truth, basically. That's all what I'm about. I have no bias. I actually don't care what this place actually is, but I do care what it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what it actually turns out to be, but I do want to know. Does that make sense? I don't care what it turns out to be. I just want to know the truth. Hope that makes some sense. But yeah, I don't have a bias or anything, you know? So another thing about this objective and subjective truth, right? Some people are passing by, so they stop by. I'll get into it a little more. Let's see. The second indoctrination says also don't forget about TV and the news. No, yeah, TV and news, you know. What's up, Justin? The cost, the shoe will set you free, but it will come with a cost. The cost will be your whole world will be turned upside down, right? The whole world that you believed was true will be turned upside down. What's up, Half Warrior Artist? Yeah, reality is way more interesting than concepts. That's true. Jolly man. I was thinking about that, and actually, people don't realize, right? People are so fascinated with technology, right? And even AI, you know, people are like fascinated by it, right? Which is cool. I'm not gonna lie, you know, cell phones, you know, I'm able to like communicate with you guys basically, you know, almost instantaneously. So technology is cool and everything, but people don't realize, you know, that, for example, one cell, right? A living cell, right? One cell has way more intelligence than all the AI and technology humans have made combined. Think about that. One cell has way more intelligence by far than all the technology that we've created or that we have, that we use, you know, combined. It doesn't even come close. Just so you could realize how, I don't even want to say special, but how crazy this place actually is, you know, like how it's working, you know, like how a cell can turn into basically all the animals we see, could turn into, you know, a human being. From a single cell could grow all these different, you know, thousands of different animals, millions if you want to include bugs, you know, like maybe billions, you know, who knows. It's a trip, you know. One cell has the capability for this whole experience in a way, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's way more intriguing and way more, you know, interesting in my opinion than the technology we have. I'm not saying our technology is not, but the reality is way more interesting to me, you know, by far than these little toys, you know what I'm saying? All the tech, even cars, they're just toys, you know? Yeah, it always will. We'll never come close to the technology we're actually experiencing. We can try and mimic it, but not even a fraction, you know what I'm saying? So another thing about objective truth versus subjective truth, kind of want to lead into it, you know, emphasizing that first, because objective truth versus subjective truth is, in my opinion, kind of falls along the lines when we're comparing, if we wanted to compare a scientific theory versus just a theory. So I was thinking about it too, because you know, when you bring up gravity, or when not bring up gravity, but when people try to defend the globe using gravity, right? And then, you know, you obviously, it has nothing to do with the shape of the earth, but in their mind it does, right? Because that's the explanation that would bend all the oceans and cause the earth to be a sphere, right? So gravity, so you'll tell them, oh, gravity is just a theory, right? And they'll be like, oh yeah, it's a theory. Well, there's a difference between a theory and a scientific theory. That's what they say, right? So this is a scientific theory, so it has credits, right? So, but at the end of the day, it's just a theory, right? But here's the difference. I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh shit, scientific theory, it kind of is a thing, you know, especially when you're comparing it to just a theory. So the difference, in my opinion, is a theory by itself, that's not a scientific theory, just a theory, is something, in my opinion, that's just made up. So a theory has nothing to back it up practically. You know what I'm saying? So for you to make a conclusion, you don't have no basis to make this theory, you know, to have any credibility, I guess you could say. For example, Bigfoot existing, that's just a theory. You know what I'm saying? There's no scientific, you know, or anything practical behind that claim. So it just remains a theory, right? So I'm gonna give you an example of a scientific theory. So a scientific theory, in my opinion, will be, for example, if I have an object that's 20 pounds, right? And I apply 10 pounds of force, or we'll say 30 pounds of force, right? And we see it go so far in the distance, and say it went 20 feet, right? With 30 pounds of force. So I could create a scientific theory that if I double the force to that object, the object is gonna go double the distance, right? So that will be a scientific theory, because I have my first premise. I have a test that I already did, and I'm building off of that. I'm gonna make assumptions. Again, theories, I would say they're scientific theories because they're grounded on an experiment that I'm doing. So now I can put that scientific theory to the test, apply double the force, and see if it actually goes double the distance, right? Obviously there's gonna be air drag, you know, all that stuff, so we could be able to measure that. So it won't be a theory anymore, right? Okay, so when it comes to objects falling, right? Since nobody can leave the reference frame of the earth, nobody can go outside of the earth, it cannot be proven 100%, which I understand that. The reason why things fall cannot be proven 100%. But we could have a scientific theory to why objects fall. And again, that scientific theory has to align with what we already know in physics, aka how do objects move? You know, what causes objects to move? You know, and a force is required, you know, for objects to move. So when we're talking about objects falling, right? In my opinion, if you look into the physics, you know, of how objects, you know, require motion, it has to do through pressure, right? Something has to push on something else in order for object to move. So, in my opinion, that's where, you know, people claiming that the object is being pushed down or pressed down when you let it go, there is no mechanism, there's nothing pressing it that we can measure, you know, that moves the object from the air to the ground. You know what I'm saying? So I would say anyone claiming that this is being pressed down by something invisible, I would say that's just a theory, because it cannot be recreated. There's nothing practical to replicate that or basically to back it up. So I would say that's just theory. So the claim, I know a lot of people are not going to like this, and I don't care. I'm not here to people please. In my opinion, the real scientific theory, again, the theory that actually aligns with our understanding in physics and how objects move and what's required, is that the earth is rising up, pressing up against our feet. And so the earth is in motion, in my opinion, but I know it cannot be proven 100%. So it remains a scientific theory. So that's the only one that can be replicated and basically be practically shown, you know, for example, to recreate the density layers using motion, you know, all that. So we can replicate that. We understand that motion is required to have density layers, to have density and buoyancy effects, you know, to have all this motion is required. So the Earth being in motion will explain all the phenomenon we see of you know, objects falling and lighter objects and air rising because they're being pushed up by the air because the air is more dense. Everything aligns to the Earth being in motion. So in my opinion, I think the globe hijacked the real scientific theory and basically inverted it. Instead of, you know, the Earth being pushed up against our feet, it's the objects being pushed down towards the Earth. And now the Earth is a ball. You know what I'm saying? And then they hijacked the scientific theory term because, again, nobody can leave the reference frame of the Earth to prove it. So when it comes to objects falling, I think it has to remain as a scientific theory because it cannot be proven 100%. But the scientific theory is the one that can be demonstrated, replicated, and the one that's demonstrable or has practicality to back it up, right? So, you know, kind of, you know, objective truth, you know, subjective truth, scientific theory versus just a theory, you know, it kind of took me there, you know. So, I mean, people might not like it and I don't care, but just the way I see it. So why do things fall? I mean, first of all, it's irrelevant to the shape of the Earth, but the real scientific theory, or the scientific theory to why things fall, is that they're not falling, or in other words, the Earth is in motion, you know, and everything else is just resisting it. You know what I'm saying? So natural equilibrium is not a force. That's what, you know, people say, density equilibrium or all this. Density and buoyancy are not forces. Something, mass is not a force. That's like literally claiming like is it Newton's theory of gravity, mass attracting mass. So now mass is a force. I thought that was gravity bullshit, that mass was a force. But now you're claiming that density, that the density of an object is a force that moves itself. That doesn't make any sense, man. If density is an effect, so if we're measuring density and buoyancy, you know, effects based on the you know, and it changes based on the surrounding, you know, medium. If it's a denser medium, then we're gonna, you know, see things rise faster, things drop low. Again, measuring the effects of things falling and rising through a medium is just measuring the effects. We're not measuring the cause of why all that is happening. You know what I'm saying? So again, density and buoyancy are effects. They cannot be the cause of themselves to move. You would have to imagine that more dense objects have like little thrusters, like, you know, obviously little molecule thrusters that are all thrusting everything down. You would have to believe that everything that has matter has some kind of mechanism, like microscopic mechanisms that are like thrusting everything down. Either that, or it's coming from above, some kind of pressure that's causing everything to come down at the same rate. You know, heavier objects, lighter objects, it all apparently, you know, obviously if you take, you know, the resistance of the air, everything falls at the same rate, but you would have to imagine something like that, you know. And again, it would just, there's nothing practical to back that up, that objects are being thrusted or pushed or somehow being moved down, you know. Physics shows otherwise, that there's nothing moves, you know. When water shows, oh my god, like when I'm pretty sure you guys seen the Jurassic Park movie, and it's kind of a dumb reference, but water shows any little movement, like when there's like a tap, you can see the water rippling, like, you know, the water. So when the water is falling, it doesn't move at all. It stays in the same exact position, and it just falls. You know, there should be some movement of the water if it's moving downwards, you know, some displacement basically. You know what I'm saying? Water is very sensitive to movement. You know, when you have a cup filled with water, like any little shake, you know, it's gonna move the water. Any little movement, especially if you're moving it, you know, at 9.8 meters per second. Think about that. If you're moving a bottle 9.8 meters per second squared, there should be some displacement of the water. You know, it shouldn't stay still and level. It shouldn't stay level, you know. Or though, you know, obviously the releasing it, you know, it's releasing momentum, so there's you know, it's releasing, you know, so there's gonna be slight, you know, something slight, but not, you know, nothing concrete. Yeah, so yeah, just wanted to emphasize that in my opinion, the globe hijacked the scientific theory term and inverted it with their own bullshit story about objects being pulled down, which obviously pulling forces don't exist, and therefore gravity is just a theory. It's not even a scientific theory. You know what I'm saying? But they like to say it's a scientific theory because they like to feel good about believing it, right? The fact is, the gravity has nothing practical to back it up. So the Earth being in motion, you know, can be, you know, recreated, and will be the reason why we have weight as well. It would explain everything, you know. So, yep. Most true earthers accept that God exists. So for me, it's logical that one of the gods we know of will be real, and the others are deceptions. I think God will make himself known to his creation. I mean, yeah, I mean, the fact that he hasn't, maybe he doesn't want to make himself known, right? Maybe he just wants us to live our lives and experience this as is, without any beliefs or ideas, right? I mean, it's good to have ideas and stuff like that. I guess not beliefs, but just ideas, you know, and wonder about what this place could be. I think it's kind of fun to think about, you know, especially sharing thoughts with others, you know. But to think that you're gonna have it figured out, or to think that you could figure it out, I think that's foolish, literally foolish. Like, you know, the people, you know, I hate, you know, most religious people think they have it figured out. Like, oh my God, that's so, like they literally think they're above everyone else because they figured out something that nobody else could figure out, right? And yeah, nah. I always question how people think a god or a god is a male. I know. We only experience gender, or, you know, male or female, as human, or as, you know, in this experience, you know. So to think that the one created this, because he created genders, right? You know, if this is a creation, then genders was a creation. So if genders was the creation, how can God be a gender? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So there must be a female God too then, right? If there's a male God, there has to be a female God too then, right? Yeah. Whatever created this place is not it's not even human, so therefore it's not a gender. I don't think it's an animal of any sort, so it's not a gender. Whatever God created this is not a gender. You know, something infinite. It's you know, I can't conceive that. Nobody can conceive that. That's just a fact. And I feel like the elite, you know, people that push religion know that. So that's why they're all for, you know, and they're all about freedom of religion, right? You know, churches and religious get tax exemptions. You know, they don't pay tax. They want people to make up stories, any story, you know, because the fact is we don't know. So anybody making up a story off the bat by default, you know, they're bullshit. Why? Because nobody knows. That's the real fact. Damn, 40 minutes in. Well, it took me like about 10 or 15 to get here, so we'll say about 30 minutes in. Still nobody. God damn, man, I need to stretch. It's hard for me to believe that this could all exist, but God not have a plan for all of us. I do appreciate. What if God's plan is what we're experiencing already, right? It's to experience the self, to experience individuality, to experience, you know, being independent. I mean, we're not independent right now, but at least an independent thinker to begin, you know, and then ultimately be independent as a human, you know. What if that's God's plan, just for us to enjoy this experience, you know, and we're letting other human beings take that from us, you know. God's not doing this, it's other human beings doing this, and then we're allowing it. It's us at the end of the day, we're allowing it, you know. As a creator, still is in the bedrock of creation, another step down for, yeah, this could be a creation within a creation. So, you know, we don't know. That'll be crazy though. Oh, that's a good one too. Just to have free will. Literally, that is the plan. Again, it's been taken from most people. Yeah, religions, you could say that, they're just attempts to verbalize, the divine, or again, people's ideas, imagination. With, again, subjective truth has to do with imagination as well. It's what people imagine, it's what people make, what makes people feel good. People's intuition and stuff like that. Those are subjective truths, which I'm not gonna deny, but at the same time, you can't try to use those to prove the objective. That's retarded. I suppose it could be, but I've tested the Bible and found it to be true as well. I've experienced what I can only explain as a love of God. So again, subjective truths. You're believing all in the scripture in the book, in my opinion, because what you read made you feel good. Now you're taking those historical events as truth. Not because, again, it's just text, Again, if that text is true about the subjective and about the self, we should all be able to come to those conclusions without the text. You know what I'm saying? It should be in us already. So again, it's still, at the end of the day, subjective truth. It has nothing to do with the objective world or natural science or proving, what this place actually is and how it got here. So believe nothing, no stuffs. Yeah. So very simple, knowing versus believing, right? Which again comes back to objective truth versus subjective truths, right? But man, I forgot what I was going with. Kind of brain farted there. Oh my god, I don't have a straw. Only believe in that's all nonsense. You can't believe it. Thanks, Justin. You always got to remain open-minded, man, because the minute you're not, you're probably already in a cult. You don't even realize it. That's kind of scary if you think about it. Like being in a cult, right? Being like knowing you're like part of a group, Obviously, you think that this group is not a cult, that they're actually doing things for good. That's a level of being in a cult. But then the majority of people here, of us, didn't even think twice of, that we were in a cult, So the fact that most people are in a cult without even knowing, I mean, that's how cults work, I guess. But people think they're free, though. At least people in these cults that we see on TV and stuff like that, these extreme cults, right? They at least have their little rituals, their little get-togethers, like literally like a little cult. But most people don't think that this is like that, but it is. Holidays are kind of like those days where people, where the cult members gather and celebrate the holidays, right? So you could say these are the little ceremonies, like what's the Turkey Day? What's the Thanksgiving, for example? You're gonna say that doesn't look like a cult when people gather around a dead turkey and worship God because they were they're giving them this, they sacrifice this turkey in his name, and oh my God, again, that's a cult right there. It's all based on belief. Always improving. You're so open-minded. I can really waste my time listening to people's opinion. I can describe better than themselves. Yeah, a lot of people don't have good articulation skills, because it comes with practice too. You gotta talk to yourself a lot, try to make sense of things, and when you try, when you do that, you start learning how to explain yourself better and stuff like that. A lot of people don't have that. the corpse eating cult. Again, I have nothing, you know, I have no hate towards anyone or any meat eaters or anything. I have hate towards ignorance, if anything, you know, if anything, because hate's a strong word, right? But yeah, ignorance is like, fuck, it sucks. I'm surprised nobody stopped. No offense, but if your truth comes from a book or history, then that's a belief. We all know we can't trust books or history. Right on. I don't want to drink too much water because I don't want to have to go pee either. Yeah, they hijack meaning. That's another thing that, like, for example, horizon, you know, horizontal, you know, coming from the word horizontal, you know, continents coming from the word container, you know, all these words, they have meaning for a reason, because if language didn't have meaning, we wouldn't be able to communicate. We wouldn't be able to be talking to each other. So if we're going to use language, you know, as a way to communicate, you know, it needs to have meaning. So that's why these words are there, you know. Airplanes, you know, fly over a plane, you know, they're not coincidences or you know, like most people think, like, oh, it's just, it doesn't prove anything. Yeah, it doesn't prove anything, but it aligns with what we know. You know what I'm saying? You know, I usually bring stuff up like that, not that it proves anything. Again, words don't prove anything, but these words align with what we know. You know, and if you ask me, it's no given, because again, words have to have meaning, unless you're saying gravity, right? Made up shit. So one of the ways that manipulators or liars deceive, or one of the tactics they use, and I see it everywhere, you know, regular people do it, the mainstream media does it, you know, schools do it, everyone does it, is the liar or the manipulator will get you bamboozled or get you to focus on the details of the lie. So they'll never talk about like the lie. Obviously, they're trying to bypass the lie, the first lie, and they'll get you to focus on all the details. Like, oh, you know, if they could, because again, if they could get you to believe the details of the lie, then by default you have to believe the lie. For example, like with the mainstream, and if they could get you to believe that the stars in the sky are planets, or not, you know, globes and stuff like that, terra firma, by default you have to believe that the Earth is a ball as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like subliminally brainwashing you a step further. By going a step further, there you go. They're subliminally brainwashing you by going a step further. So again, all these stories, all the details about outer space and the distance from this planet to another planet, and again, getting you to focus on the details of the lie so that you accept the lie. You know, if you start entertaining the details, by default you have to already accept the lie to already be talking about the details. You know what I'm saying? So it's, I mean, cheaters do it. People that cheat, you know, on their spouses, you know, they literally get to they want to focus on the details. Like, oh no, I went over here, I wasn't there. Look, I have a receipt of where I was. You know, again, you know, stupid little shit like that. I have a receipt. I have pictures of where I was. I wasn't with so and so, and blah 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 blah. And it's just, you know, it's just everywhere. That getting you to focus on the details of the lie to get you to accept the lie by default. You know, so actually, I wanted to share a video that I seen that basically emphasizes that. Getting people to focus on the details of the lie, right? So here, it's a news clipping of them pushing aliens, and now they're serious about it. Here it is. Let me know if you guys could hear it when I press play. By the way, this is a Fair Use Act under copyright law, so hopefully they don't try to fuck with this. So check this out. Again, a perfect example of getting people to focus on the details of the lie so that you can accept the lie, you know, by default. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of funny.
It was the streak seen across the sky, now seen around the world. This is our 8 News
can't really hear him on my end. Can you guys hear it? Let me see if I can put the volume up. Maybe it's too low. Oh, there you go.
Backyard. And tonight, a fierce debate is underway about the legitimacy of an alleged UFO crash. Good evening. I'm Denise Valdez.
And I'm Brian Loftus. Our 8 News Now investigators reporting about terrified members of a local family who told police they had aliens in their backyard. Chief Investigator George Knapp here to piece it all together.
You know, as with all things UFO, the public debate is ferocious and ongoing. Was it all a hoax? Were we duped? Was it all an evil plot, a cover-up, all of the above? We took another look at the hubbub to separate wheat from chaff. The fireball captured on a police body cam on the night of April 30th was real. The American Meteor Society says witnesses reported seeing it all across the West, from northeastern Utah to Southern California. Another Las Vegas resident sent us a video of the same object recorded on her home camera.
Investigation by Nexstar station KLAS.
As the story of the Las Vegas incident spread across newscasts and social media, one of NASA's planetary defense officers weighed in to say it was likely a small meteor that fell to Earth hundreds of miles away from Las Vegas. Police videos obtained by 8 News Now indicate Metro officers were among the witnesses.
One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious.
The appearance of the meteor seemingly triggered the events that followed. A frightened family called 911 and told police they had 10-foot-tall alien beings in their backyard. Officers responded to the home minutes later, interviewed the witnesses, canvassed the area, and cautiously inspected the backyard to look for intruders. One thing noticed by the officers was a circle in the soil. In conversations with us and in a podcast interview, Angel, the main witness, suggested the circle might have been created when an unknown object landed in the yard. Social media sleuths have since pointed out that the circular image has been viewable via Google Earth for more than a year. The family told us by phone they had seen suspicious vehicles with men in black types checking out their home. Turns out there is substance to that. A retired police officer fessed up on News Nation that he spent days staking out the house to see what, if anything, unfolded. What about those reports that Metro installed a special surveillance camera atop the house, presumably to watch for intruders, human or otherwise, or overzealous media? Turns out that's true as well. Metro confirmed as much in a statement to 8 News Now's David Charnes. The system stayed on the roof for days. What about the Ring camera video with the weird noise? The main witness, Angel, intimated to us the video was recorded by one of his neighbors, and the audio was from the April 30th UFO crash. It wasn't. The security camera video was recorded in mid-April, according to the man who first posted the clip. He doesn't want his name used, but says the recording was from a fireball that passed over his home in the southwestern part of the valley 2 weeks prior to the alleged alien encounter. The family declined to be interviewed by us, but members have spoken elsewhere and stick to their claims of seeing aliens in the backyard. Dozens of people on social media have analyzed and dissected the images with various claims of aliens spotted in the shadows. Police do not believe this was a hoax call, which could be a crime if done intentionally. In the fervid swamp known as UFO world, our coverage of the story was itself seen as a dastardly plot to distract attention away from a prominent whistleblower named David Grush, who stepped forward around the same time. Grush unveiled his explosive on-camera.
I think it's funny how when a real whistleblower from NASA comes out to basically spill the beans that it's all bullshit, right? You'll never hear about them. In other words, they usually get taken out. They disappear. You never hear about them. But when you have whistleblowers saying that aliens exist from NASA, you know, whistleblowers from NASA that aliens exist, they're highlighted all over the news. That's so funny, man. These fake whistleblowers, oh my God, they're so lame.
Account on News Nation, which is owned by the parent company of KLAS. In spite of the local news story, Grush's story was reported by news media all over the world. Curses foiled again.
Oh, man.
All right. So what do you make of this whistleblower, David Grush?
He first reached out to me about a year ago. We've been in contact ever since. He's the real deal. I mean, he had a distinguished career in the Air Force. Then he went to work for a three-letter agency you probably haven't heard of, the NGA, which basically tracks everything in space, in the air, in the ocean, under the ocean, on land. They keep track of everything. He has the highest security clearances in our government, and in that capacity, he interacts.
that's one of the reasons. All right, we'll stop that. So it's one of the reasons why I don't like to focus on the NASA stuff, which again, I do sometimes bring it up, you know, and stuff like that, because, you know, it's relatable. But when you just focus on the NASA stuff, you're focusing on the details of the lie and arguing someone with it about the details of the lie without getting to the root of the lie. You're not gonna get nowhere. Trust me, I've done it. Like, it's pointless, you know. So that's why I stick to physics when it comes to presenting this. Again, I'll bring up some videos and stuff like that, but that's not gonna be my go-to, you know what I'm saying? Because again, these details, you know, what NASA does, anomalies, for all we know, they do these anomalies on purpose, kind of like to give fuel to the morons, so that you go and battle with these clips of anomalies happening in the videos with other globe earthers and not gonna get nowhere. It's literally kind of like if you ask me, they kind of put some of these anomalies with the video, with NASA footage on purpose, so that people talk about it and basically so the conversation doesn't go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't like to focus on the NASA videos and stuff like that, because it's focusing on the details of the lie, and I like to get to the root of the lie. You know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, that's just me. Again, another thing when it comes to visual observations of objects at a distance, again, we have to account for perspective, refraction, atmospheric lensing, you know, atmospheric effects of any sort. And again, vision alone is not measuring anything. You know what I'm saying? So using photographs to prove that the Earth is flat or level is kind of using their faulty logic when they just show you an image of a globe. Again, an image alone doesn't prove anything. You know, it has to be measurable, testable, and repeatable. So physics of water, you know, everyone can test, measure it, and repeat it. You know, especially at a lake, you know. So that to me is like getting to the root of the lie and emphasizing, you know, the lie, and then we could maybe bring up some NASA stuff, you know, other little stuff, you know, give my explanation on it, you know, but then we gotta come back to physics, you know. I'll give you an explanation, but we gotta come back to physics, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, mainstream is irrelevant. You see, they realize people are awakening to the flat earth, so they are in panic to get the alien. Oh yeah, the alien thing. Again, they're gonna push it as long as they can, you know. I don't know how far it's gonna go, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I guess students don't trust their common sense today. It's crazy because other times I will get like 2-3 conversations right when I set up, you know. So it's just how it is. Some days are good and some days are not. No bite yet. Nope. Sit more back so I can stretch my legs. Oh man. God damn, I'm feeling this urge to stretch, man. Fuck. I might get up and start stretching right here. This might be funny for some truthers chat to hear, but many Christians believe the rapture will be soon and it will be explained by the world as an alien abduction. Oh shit. I believe it too, to be honest. That's a cool story, but yeah. Often in theoretical physics, we alter the simulation at the equations to fit the explanation. Yeah, that's what the globe does. Yeah. That's a good point too. They might not even have the technology yet to do that, right? So, yeah, who knows? I'd like to think, in my opinion, that we've reached the peak of technology a long time ago. So what we're experiencing now, this rollout of technology evolving, I feel like it's been done before. So we've reached the peak of technology, in my opinion. I think that humans reached the peak of technology a long time ago already. And it's just being resold to us again, you know. But again, that's just my opinion. You know, because it's funny how they have like a little timeline from the 1900s or late 1800s of how everything came to be. Like, so it's like real inventions, I think, were stolen. First of all, I don't think, you know, the mainstream, you know, came up with all these, and then this is how they present them. This is how we advance technology, right? You know, I don't know how technology came to be, but I don't think the timeline that we're presented and how technology evolved from the late 1800s to now, or early 1900s, whatever, it just doesn't make any sense how it advanced this much in a short amount of time. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons why I think, again, I don't believe it because I'm not committed to that, but it is an idea that I have, that we've reached the peak of technology already. So we're just being enslaved by it now. That's true, Shifty Eyes. That's how they've indoctrinated us. If you start using common sense, you could get in trouble in school. You could get expelled if you ask too many questions, or suspended first, right? Natalie actually used to get in trouble for asking questions when she was in school, you know, as an elementary student. I was more of a follower. They just, not follower, but more of like go along to get along type of thing. So I did have questions, but I wasn't verbal. Again, I was kind of an introvert myself, so I kind of stood quiet, just, again, went along to get along. But again, a lot of kids that do speak out get shut down, you know, and it's like, what are you gonna do as a kid when you have all these adults telling you you're wrong and all this, and then these experts already figured it out, and we have, you know, super minds in science figuring it out and all this. So it's gaslighting, you know, it's psychologically abusing children, which is a crime. You know what I'm saying? Psychologically abusing children is a crime. The fact that the government is the biggest player in that, and yet we fund it, whoa, that's a fucking crazy ass cult, if you ask me. Literally. Like, it's pretty sad for most people, man. Like, I feel for people, don't get me wrong, like, people that are completely ignorant and stuff like that, and are even mock flat earth, for example, or like, I kind of feel for them, you know, because they don't even know their elbow from their ass, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, I try to imagine what goes on in your head, and it's like, holy shit, like, what could be going on in your head if you believe all this shit, you know? I can't even remember what I used to think when I was, you know, before this shit, you know? So it's pretty crazy, man, pretty crazy. That's where the NPC term comes, you know? All the AI is people walking around not thinking for themselves. That's the AI. The machines taking over, AI taking over, it happened already. It's happening. It's people, you know what I'm saying? Mindless, you know, zombies, basically. Flesh-eating zombies, right? Huh? Rockefeller, I want a nation of workers, not thinkers. That seems to fit this, you know, what we're experiencing. Yeah, funding our own brainwashing. That's what trips me the fuck out. You know, all this, again, people think we have a free economy, but you have to pay taxes. But it's a free economy, but you have to pay taxes. Like, if it was a truly free economy, you should have the option, you know, of where your money goes, you know. That's a free economy. So, yeah, there's no free economy. And people that think we're free as well as civilians and say, yeah, well, guess what? You need to pay property tax until you die. So you never truly own your property. You know what I'm saying? So we're not free, and we don't live in a free economy. And all of these are just, people want to believe that we do. Again, that's their subjective truth, that we are free, you know. But again, that's just because they believe it, and it, you know, makes them feel good to believe it. So the objective truth is that we're fucking slaves, and we're being fucked every day, more and more and more and more. And fuck me, man, it's fucking crazy. It's fucking annoying. Rent's going up, like, it's fucking crazy, man. Everything's going up. It's, oof. I mean, it's no giving away. Homelessness is at an all-time high here, you know? Like, I mean, pretty sure everywhere too. It's not just here in the States. Pretty sure the whole is being affected, you know? I understand the people who laugh and walk when they hear flat earth. It's the ones that stay, ran, and rage that they have. Enraged that they have no proof. No, that's weird. No, yeah, that is true. They get mad and rage and all that when they have nothing, you know. They don't even understand their own model, but yet they get mad when people question it. But yet they don't even understand it, right? So that is some kind of, obviously that's just cult mentality, you know. They'll mindlessly defend the cult teachings because that's what they were taught, you know. So come on, man, come on. Goddamn. Correct, we're all renting everything. Even if you own your home, you need to pay property tax. It's completely insanity, yeah? It is. I got the solutions to all the problems in the world. For homelessness, you just have to build a tree house in every street. Problem solved. I mean, the solutions are easy, you know. There is so many. That's the thing. There's not even. It's not just one solution either. There could be hundreds of different solutions that actually are good solutions to this system. But again, nobody's fucking thinking about those solutions. Everybody's thinking of solutions of how to fix the system. Little do they know or realize that the system is the problem. So trying to fix the system is like chasing your fucking tail. You're not gonna get nowhere. You know what I'm saying? But that's how they have everybody thinking. Like, oh, we gotta fundraise. We gotta fundraise to help this country, and we gotta fundraise to help them, and we gotta fundraise to help the animals, and we gotta fundraise. Again, if you're trying to fix the system within the system, they already got, you know, you're chasing your tail. You're not gonna get nowhere. The system is the problem. We need to get out of the system, you know, and create our own systems. That's another thing. One system cannot encompass the whole. Like, no, that's crazy. You know, that's where communities come in and build their own systems of living. That's true freedom. People having the freedom to live how they want, create their own systems, you know. And that doesn't mean, you know, fucking murder and all that. Obviously, all that's still, you know, it's bad. But I feel like the life we live now, the economy, you know, the way it is, drugs, the you know, government being the #1 distributor of drug, it's part of the reason why crime is so high. You know, because we're not free, because we're being restrained, because we're being pressured, you know, to all these bills and everything. So people hit breaking points, and yes, that's where crimes come in. People do crimes to get money, to get drugs, for their selfish needs, again, because they're fucking lost. So again, a truly free economy, living, you know, in true freedom, in my opinion, will reduce crime by far. By far, crime will be reduced. Homelessness, you know. Food should be free. There should be fruit trees everywhere, you know what I'm saying? Like, they say money doesn't grow from trees, right? But guess what? Food does grow from trees. So why the fuck don't we have fruit trees everywhere? You know, there should be a fruit tree everywhere I look. You know, I should just go up to any tree and grab a fruit, you know? It's crazy, man. It's a trip because I was thinking, obviously we're vegan, so we try to eat a lot of fruit. 3 pounds of organic apples, 3 pounds of organic, it's like $9 right now. $9, and they're the small little apples, right? I'm tripping the fuck out that each little apple is basically at least $1 for a little apple. And I was like, oh my god, like that's fucking insane that's how much, you know, everything's going up. You know what I'm saying? It's a trip, man. It's a trip. Again, people just don't have a spine nowadays. You know, it's part of the crippling from when we were younger. You know, and our family does it too. You know, our family. You know, it's all about authority, obey authority. You know, not everybody, but most of us. You know, it comes from the household as well. This whole idea of hierarchy, right? Of levels of authority, you know. So the fluoride, yeah, Nazi fripples, that could be too. Numbing people. Damn, hour and 12 minutes. Yep. If we were just to focus on planting trees like this whole year, for example, right? Just focus on planting trees everywhere, right? If we all did that as a collective, right? Obviously, it's gonna be impossible, but just hypothetically, if we all just planted seeds, you know, for a whole year straight, anywhere we could, right? In 15 years, that's how long it, you know, it takes a tree to mature, you know? 15 years, which, you know, time flies. There could be an abundance of food. Abundance, you know what I'm saying? But again, that's part of the way that they keep us enslaved, is controlling the food. You know, they don't want people to be able to grow their own food or harvest their own food, because then you're not going to need a government for your basic needs. You know? Yep. Relying on someone else for your basic needs is how you end up being enslaved. That simple, literally. So if our basic needs is food, water, and shelter, and the government's controlling that for us, doesn't take a genius to figure it out that we're being enslaved. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different ways to be able to gather water. You could just dig a hole into the earth as well. Obviously, you're gonna need some pretty, you know, some machinery maybe for that. But yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to be able to, you know, rainwater. You can gather rainwater, you know. I recommend you a magnet coil with a copper antenna rising above the foundation. The antennas have to be pointing north. Alright, man, hopefully I can get a conversation in, man. Surprised that I haven't got one. I'm gonna stop drinking water because I'm gonna have to pee. I'm an electrician, was sent to a job in a slaughterhouse, not veterinarian, hearing those screams. Thanks, Red November. I actually don't know. I don't even know what gematria decoders are coming from. It's like they're, I think it's just, you know, the numbers are there, but it's just that they don't really mean anything, you know, in my opinion. The gematria stuff, language is a fabrication of man. We created language, we created numbers, you know, these are all ideas that we put into paper. So it's no coincidence that they could play around with these numbers, you know, through gematria and all this stuff. It's just kind of a way to mock, you know, people that are aware. Again, they want people to focus on these numbers and try to use these numbers to prove that they're lying, when you should just go straight to the facts of how they're lying. You know, aka, you know, the earth is not a ball because obviously the water is level, you know. But if they could get you, again, focusing on the details of the lie, you know, to say that, again, if you're battling with the details of it, you're not going to get nowhere. So battling these gematria numbers or decoding them or trying to figure out reality through these numbers is just, in my opinion, it's a trap. It's a waste of time, you know. But yep, because economy is an unnecessary hoax, nothing but an abstract scheme to control the masses, and then all creatures will live in peace, and how many ones unless else is in the law. No, yeah, the economy is unnecessary. again, if the economy, a true free economy was to exist, it should never be a necessity. It should be optional. That's what a true economy would be. It should never be intertwined with the land either. The land should just be the land, and the economy should just be there for goods and services. You know what I'm saying? For products and services. Land is not a product or a service. I mean, you could work the land, but then what you produce from the land, then you could, sell that in an economy. You know what I'm saying? In other words, nobody should be able to use more or take more land than they can actually use. The only reason why that happens is because we have this whole idea of the economy, and owning land, and basically we allow it to happen. So all these people that own more land than they could use is because the rest of us are allowing it to happen. Again, all comes back to being ignorant to what's really going on and how we're being controlled. So yeah, nobody should have to pay any other man for land. We don't even pay God for land to top it off. Yeah, we're gonna pay another man for land? Think about that. That's fucking retarded. You know what I'm saying? The fact that we need to pay another man for land to be in a, in a piece of land. Now I gotta pay someone. Like, that's fucking retarded, man. It fucking infuriates me, but fuck. That's one of the main reasons why we're being enslaved, believe it or not. This whole idea of land ownership, owning more land than you can actually use. Specific. You know what I'm saying? It's fucking crazy. You know what? I'm thinking because maybe summer classes started, it's not as packed as it was, other times that I came, because it is, mid-June, I'm assuming. So I'm assuming summer classes already started, which I'm assuming is not going to be as packed as usual, but I have to drink water, but I kind of need a pee already. Yeah, it's not as packed as it was other times that I've been here, so. Worse than that, you pay the land, but then the property taxes. Yeah, you pay land and property tax. I mean, it's never really yours, yeah. I used to say to my mom, if we were born to use money all of our lives, then why am I not born with pockets? That's a good one. Nice one, man. That's funny. That's funny. Another thing, we're not using God's currency, aka the produce, right? What we could produce, right, for trade and stuff like that, that has something that has value, right? We're not using God's currency, the current, the water, We're using a man-made currency, a synthetic, a fake currency, and our lives revolve around it, Like, that's where we're at right now. That's pretty crazy. Right. Yeah, you can say that. Real currency is energy. Yeah. It's what get things done. Which is, again, when they say that the Matrix is kind of like a documentary, it kind of is. It's not a full-on documentary, but it basically aligns. It's like a metaphor that we're being sucked, our lives are being sucked out of us for just for our energy, basically. So we do things for others. For the majority are doing the majority for a few. You know. So yeah, it's a trip. God says He's pure energy. Okay, you see, that's you know, I can agree with that. You know, God being pure energy. You know, so when people say that God is a man or He's a male, it's like, where the fuck did you get that from? Not even your own Bible, you know, says that. So, oh, he's a father, right? Because He's a father now. Here's another thing, you know. See if people come to the table. Looks like two guys are looking. They might come, so we'll see. I think I might get one. We'll see. We'll see. They use us as toys. Yep. We're pawns, basically. What's up, man? So I want to see if students here, you know, or anyone in particular, trust their common sense. Would you guys say you trust your common sense?
I'm not a student here, but I do trust my common sense.
Okay, fair enough. No, yeah. I mean, I actually have 3 very easy questions, elementary level, and just to test to see if people actually do trust their common sense, right? So here we go. We'll start with the first one. The first one's the hardest, but then they get easier. Alright. So you're a student here, and you're not a student here as well? Okay. So I have 2 images here, and the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting. So I want to see if people can tell the difference.
Which one's a photograph and which one's a painting?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, shoot.
I mean, if you have to guess, you know, it's fair too, you know. If I say this one is the hardest one.
You know, I'd say this is a painting.
Okay, fair enough. Most people do say that it's a painting. I think this is the photograph. Okay, so that was actually a trick question. They're both paintings. They're both paintings.
They're both paintings?
Yeah. Yeah, right? So I obviously don't expect people to get this one, right? Because it's impossible to tell, right? But by the way, this one's an oil painting, and this is a digital painting done on an iPad. So this one actually took like 200 hours to do. You can find it online. That's the guy that did it. So yeah, it's pretty realistic, right? So there is 2 reasons why I asked this question though, and it has to do with common sense. So the first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived, right? Because you guys believe me that one's a photograph, that influenced your choice, right? So it's not good to just believe someone. Right? The second reason is if we want to determine something is real, an image is not good enough. Because if I showed you an image of me flying or me like lifting a grown elephant, would you believe I could do those things? No, right? Because that defies physics. So another point is if an image defies physics, we got to throw the image away, right? So the next 2 actually has to do with elementary physics, has to do with water and orientation, you know, orientation. So could we agree that once water is contained, you know, like in this bottle, it always goes to the bottom of the bottle and it always levels out? Because I could change the orientation of the bottle, but water always, you know, lays and levels out, you know, goes down and levels out. Doesn't matter the orientation, right? So I took 3 pictures of my water bottle with water in it. One like this, one upside down, and one sideways, right? So the bottle was in different orientations, but the water, you know, always only has one orientation, water, right? So since we understand water always goes down, right? Which one of these 2 images is upside down? How I'm showing them to you. If water always goes to the bottom of the bottle and levels out, which one of these 2 is upside down? How I'm showing it to you.
This one's upside down.
There you go. You got it. Yeah, you got it. So obviously when you're looking at the water, because the water can't stick to the top, right? I actually took it like that. This is the correct orientation. So you got it. So this one was upside down because obviously the water showed you that, right? Because that's, you know, I can't lie to you then. No, it's not. You know, reality doesn't lie. You know, people lie. You know, then this is reality. So another thing about water, it always finds its level. What could be another word for level? Okay, that's a good one. You can look it up. It's the proper definition is horizontal, because if we had a straight line that was at a slope, it's not level. It's a slope. Yeah. So it has to be a horizontal straight line, and that's what level. And that's why we use these in construction, right, to make sure, you know, things are flat and even, right? So since we understand that fact about water as well, this one's the easiest one, by the way. Since we understand what level means and how water behaves. Which one of these two represents level as we know it when we're looking at the water? Which one represents level? Yeah, it's the obvious one, yeah. Hey, yeah. So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you guys, have been tricked to believing this is what level means, even though we know it's this one. You guys want to know how we were tricked? Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball? Yeah, right? That's what they teach us in school. So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, so they need to know the radius of orbit. So they need to know the radius of the Earth that they're supposedly going around it. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth is 3,159 miles. So with that, we get the circumference of 24,901 miles, which means there should be curvature every mile. And every mile it increases because it's not a slope, it's a curve. So every mile that curvature has to increase. So the first mile is an 8-inch drop. Second mile, 32 inches. By the third mile, there should be 6 feet of curvature. And in 10 miles, there should be 66 feet of curvature, which is like a 6-story building. So if we actually went now like a giant lake that was miles across to physically measure for this curvature, the water is going to be parallel to anything, you know, level above it. But they're trying to tell us that that water is going to be bending 6 feet in 3 miles. So if we start at 5 feet, that gap's going to increase to 11 feet in 3 miles, the water bending, I suppose. But in my opinion, this will be the #1 experiment to debunk the globe, a physical measurement of the Earth. So if I was to ask you guys, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
I think satellites.
Okay, so images. Okay, exactly. I'm glad you brought that. So that those images defy physics, basically, and they actually admit they're Photoshop. They don't call them Photoshop; they're composites. They say they're composites, and they stitch them together in a computer. So every image from space, it's just a cartoon. It doesn't really exist.
Well, why would we be lied to?
So I would say
what's the benefit of lying that
all the
Earth is
countries
circular rather
in the
than
nation?
flat?
Yeah. So it comes back to control, and the reason they lie to us about the shape of the Earth when we're so young is to basically it's like a cheap shot on our common sense. So if they could get you to believe something that completely defies physics, then they're gonna get you to believe in other concepts like the economy and how much rent you should be paying, how many tax. So it's all about crippling our common sense so that we're easily controlled when we're older. So that's why they lie to us when we're little.
So do you think like pictures of other planets like
okay,
they're all flat and you think
no. So the stars, they tell us that they're light years and trillions of light years away, right? Supposedly, right? So I don't know if you guys ever heard of a camera called the Nikon P900. It's a P1000 now, but it's the most powerful zoom camera on the market that a civilian can buy. It has 83 times zoom. I think the P1000 has like 100 times zoom now, but these images were taken with that camera. And optical zoom is real zoom. It's not digital zoom where you're just zooming into pixels. This is real zoom, and we're able to zoom into the stars, telling us that these stars are very close to the ground. So if you ask me, these lights in the sky, nobody knows what they actually are, other than they're constant. You know, so we have the constellations. They reset every year. In other words, if we were truly shooting through outer space and spinning and going around the sun and all these other motions that they're telling us, there should be a parallax from the stars every night. In other words, we should have a different sky every night. But the fact that the stars and the constellations reset every year to the exact same position every time tells us that the Earth is not spinning and we're not shooting through space, basically, like around the sun and all. The whole model we've been lied to about, basically. Not just the Earth. We've been lied to about the whole model.
If the Earth's not spinning, what?
The Earth, the sun's actually moving above us. So the sun is not, again, it's not
what causes weather patterns?
Exactly. So, so I'm gonna show you this map again. Nobody knows the true dimensions of the Earth. You know, so I don't like to use any maps, but I'll just show you guys because you guys are, a bit open to it. So all the continents are telling us, right? If they actually are the same, the size they're telling us and the place, this is what it will look like, right? Antarctica, if Antarctica actually exists, supposedly underneath the globe, like they're telling us, is actually just a ring around us. So I don't know if this ring exists, but that will contain the water. You know, that's where I think the word continent comes from, because the continents contain the water. You know, so, just like horizon, these are images of the horizon. If you ask me, the word horizon comes from the word horizontal, because they're always, the only place you're ever going to see curvature of the Earth, again, it's going to be through action cameras, like GoPros that warp straight lines, kind of like this one, or through CGI cartoons, again, like this. So these are official NASA images, but they're cartoons. In other words, composites, Photoshop. That's the only place you're ever going to see curvature. GoPros or cartoons. Reality, shows us what it actually is. And especially if we could physically measure the surface of water, which is their #1 claim. So one of the reasons, or one of the ways that they tricked us, well, not us because I didn't go to school and you guys are not in college, but college students, is they redefine the word level by meaning equal distance from the center to the surface of a sphere. So they're trying to say if you're 5 feet above here and from the center, and 5 feet above here from the center, and 5 feet above here from the center, you connect that means level. They're trying to say level means curve, equal distance from the surface to the center. But in, yeah, sure.
So, if you were to simply circumnavigate the globe from this point to this point, like go all the way around, it would be a shorter distance if you went from this way all the way around.
I'm glad you read that.
So, isn't that an easy way to determine if it's...
Yeah, I don't know if you knew, when you look into flight patterns, I don't like to focus on flight patterns because it's kind of irrelevant because we don't know the true shape, dimensions.
Like, even like sailing.
But yeah, I know what you're saying. So people would say, like, on a globe, going from Australia to South America should be short route, right? Should be very short on a globe. It should be very short, right? But in reality, planes don't go from Australia straight to, they actually cut through the middle. So they always make stops here. On a globe, it looks like they're going north and then they're going back south. But on a flat map, it just looks like they're going in a straight line. Because they always make stops midway, like to pick up more passengers, and then they keep going. You know, on this map, flight paths are just straight lines to continents. And then circumnavigation would just be circles around the north, which would be a center point. And, circumnavigation is just circles east and west. You know, and north is just the center point. You know what I'm saying? So again, these flight paths that you're saying, they don't exist. Like, and even if they did, we don't.
They have to follow the wind, like the wind pattern.
Sure, but again, when you put those flight patterns on the globe and on this, they make more sense on this. But again, I'm not saying this is correct because I don't know what the Earth actually looks like. For all we know, this is fake too. We actually don't know how many continents there are, how big they are, how the layout actually is. I actually don't know. But this is what it would look like if the globe was true, like the continents of the globe. You know? But if, a lot of people think that there could be other ponds over here. So if the ice wall does exist, guess what? There's probably another pond over here, you know? And exactly, all the other worlds are here, basically, not up there.
That's fire.
Yeah, there we go. No, yeah.
What's this for? Is this like
so because this, I came across this in 2016, and that's when it exploded on the internet. It started getting censored around 2019 and 2018. The way they're censoring is they're not removing this information from the internet. They're just ridiculing it, removing it, and misrepresenting people like me. So they're calling us flat earthers and trying to group people into this category of crazy flat earthers so that nobody actually listens to someone like me, right? So the reason I do this is kind of to show a method of approach so that we could get the conversation started so that the mainstream actually takes it serious. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to divert. They're going to talk about they're going to just focus on what the stars are supposedly doing. You know, they're just going to focus on red herrings, basically. Nothing physical or measurable. You know, they're just going to bamboozle people, basically. And you'll see that if you start looking into this. But yeah, so I do have some information I share because it is being censored. So if you go on Google or YouTube, you're going to get nothing but ridicule. So I do have some links here that you could check out on your free time that you could use to cross-reference. Those are the 6 main proofs that debunk the globe. You could take one. I have a bunch. And yeah, I mean, you have any questions? I mean,
it's really interesting.
No, yeah. But, so how long ago did you guys hear about this? If you don't mind me asking. Oh, have you guys heard of Flat Earth? Yeah.
Flat Earth? Maybe like 10 years now.
Yeah. 10 years? Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, they do tell us in school right off the back that Columbus thought he was flat, but then he circumnavigated and found America. You know, they kind of use that story again. They just use stories and fallacious reasoning to make us believe, you know, to make us disregard physics, basically. But yeah, any question before you go? I mean, no? All right. No, yeah. Thanks for talking, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
Really interesting.
Yeah, you guys take care. Thanks, Andrew. Base truther. Thanks, Renewed Awareness. Natalie, it was not a bad chat. It was cool. They seemed really open and interested in it. I mean, because it made sense. That's why. If you could present this subject to someone where it makes sense, like, you know, then they can't run from it. You know, they have to accept it, you know. Thanks, Jake. I need to start putting some of these away for people. Who do you find is more open-minded to the idea, young folk, men or women? It depends, but I guess men a little bit more. To be honest, when it comes to being open-minded, it's like kind of in the middle. I can't really say. Yeah, if they're willing to listen, that's half the battle. Yep. That's why getting people's attentions, you know, it's part of the. You gotta be kind of sneaky about it, you know, how to start conversations, because people, again, the ridicule, it's kind of keeping people away from it, but at the same time, they do want to hear about it, but they don't want to be the ones to be in the conversation, right? So that's why I think sharing this to people that are even new to this subject, I think will be a good thing, because you know, they could hear other people talk about it. Maybe some of the questions they have could get answered by just listening to someone else, you know what I'm saying? So, because I get a lot of people are shy, antisocial, which again, they're interested in hearing conversations about this, or at least legitimate ones, you know, but there's not a lot of genuine people out there, you know, speaking about this, you know. That's why, you know, Dell, in my opinion, you know, he's like the best channel, you know, when it comes to staying objective, you know, about this topic, and about what's going on and how we're being fucked mentally, psychologically, you know. Yeah. What software did I use? Actually, I used not Microsoft Word, PowerPoint. Yeah, I used PowerPoint. Yeah, Microsoft PowerPoint. That's cool. One conversation's cool, better, you know, better than nothing. Financial conspiracy. What state am I located? I'm in California. Yeah. I'm at UCR University in California, in Riverside, to be more exact. Anyone know why the huge time difference exists for the sunrise and sunset between Little and Big Diamond Islands? Got one to find out. Yeah, the sunset and sun rising and all that, it's gonna be impossible to like get a good idea of how that works, like time zones and, you know, the distance, because first, we don't know the layout of the earth. We don't know the true distances to these land masses from each other, you know, the size of these land masses as well, you know, relative to each other. Another thing we don't know is how high the sun is, how fast it travels, if it goes down and up as it travels. We don't know none of these questions, therefore it would only be assumptions, trying to figure stuff out like that, like how is it sunlight over here and dark over there? Like, that's irrelevant. We don't know. We don't know. Like, I mean, it doesn't prove anything. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, the fact that we don't know the true dimensions of the earth, we don't know the distance, the exact distance of the sun, how fast it moves, none of that. It'll just be anyone making claims, or just be an assumption, literally. David Banner, I actually have thought of doing a little presentation like that. I thought about like at a school, kind of like even at a high school, right? It would be pretty cool. But I don't think they'll allow it. I mean, if I could find a teacher that's cool, right, or a bit open-minded, you know, he could allow me to do a presentation, right? It'll be up to the courtesy of the teacher. But yeah, actually, I've thought about something like that. I think it'll be kind of fun to get a whole group, you know. I think I'll get way more questions, that's for sure. You know, I'll get a lot, which is again, it'll be a good thing. Yeah, I'm the kind of person that likes to explain myself. So doing that and you know, doing a little Q&A after will be great. Yeah, hopefully sometime in the future, you know, you never know. I don't think a professor will show up. It sounds like how they would wind up terminated for participating in the wrong thing. Yeah, using the Socratic approach seems to work better than any other approach. Yeah, the Socratic method, it is the best way. It is the best way to get people thinking. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. They have to. They have to assume that the Earth is non-rotating. You see how much battery I have on this action camera? 32%. Alright, I'll wait like another 15-20 minutes. See if we can get one more. Oh, they teach that in law school? The Socratic method? It's a good way to get answers from someone, right? To questioning. You have to learn how to ask the right questions too. That's another thing. You can't just ask random questions, you know. They have to be strategic questions as well. You know. I mean, obviously questions that relate to the topic, that get to the root of the topic, you know what I'm saying? I think those questions are the ones that can really crack the nut, right? Can really crack a hard nut. Yeah, I guess you could say NASA too. No, that's true, that the Earth doesn't mean it's stationary though. That's true. Yeah, the excuses that I've seen that people use to dismiss that the Earth is rising up is so ridiculous. Oh my God. Some of the excuses, I'll name some of the excuses. So one of the excuses that the Earth cannot be rising upwards is because the atmosphere will have to be glued to the Earth. I thought the atmosphere, I thought it was a scientific theory to think that, you know, in order to have air pressure, it must be contained. So, to say that the Earth, that the atmosphere would have to be glued to the Earth if the Earth was moving upwards, it doesn't make any sense, because again, the air pressure, you know, the atmosphere, the air, you know, most likely is being contained. So if it's being contained, you know, with the Earth, and if the Earth is in motion, it's not gonna go nowhere. If anything, that'll give us the density layers because it's all within the containment. So that will give us not only the density layers, but the the pressure gradient. Oh my fucking God. The fact that the air pressure is being contained and the Earth being in motion, that would explain the pressure gradient. You know what I'm saying? So to claim that that it would have to be glued to the Earth, to this, and then using that to dismiss this is pretty dumb. You know. And also, I've heard like birds wouldn't be able to fly, and helicopters and airplanes. I mean, anybody can look it up. An airplane, when they fly level, they don't fly straight like this. They fly with their nose slightly up. I wonder why. I wonder why the airplanes have to fly with their nose slightly up to maintain level flight. I mean, if you ask me, birds, for example, they do fall, through the air, unless they expand their wings, and depending on what kind of bird it is, because eagles, they have a pretty big wingspan. So when birds expand their wings, they're increasing their surface area. Therefore, they're becoming more buoyant to the air. I don't want to use that word, but they'll fall less faster. Because they're increasing their surface area. Small birds have to flap their wings, pretty fast, to to be able to basically push themselves up, right? Using the air pressure. So, because they're already within the moving reference frame, they only need to apply extra, you know, again, when they increase their wings, for example, eagles, they're increasing their surface area, therefore the air is creating a lift, you know. Again, with eagles, because they have a bigger surface area, a bigger wingspan, they don't even have to flap their wings to just glide. They just increase their surface area. Guess what happens if they close their wings and increase it? They're gonna start to dive. That's how they dive. That's how eagles dive to hunt. You know, they close their wings, they reduce their surface area. They become more dense than the surrounding air. Then what happens, you know, when they fly, they open their wings, they increase the surface, and then they're able to get lift from the air. You know what I'm saying? Because they're increasing their surface area. You know what I'm saying? So again, helicopters need a force to keep up in the air. When the minute you turn the engine off, you know, the earth comes crashing into it. So these excuses that I've been seeing some people use, it's like, they don't make any sense, you know, to dismiss, again, the fact that the earth, you know, the earth pushing up against our feet, in my opinion, is the one that aligns with our understanding of physics and motion, and how things require something pressing against them to give them weight, to give them, you know, for there to be resistance, so that you can have weight, you know, and all these things, the density layers, you know. So in my opinion, that's the scientific theory that would explain it all, you know. So it is kind of weird though that people are using those other examples to dismiss it, which doesn't make any sense, because they still work. They would still work, you know. But yeah. Again, I'm not saying it is. Nobody can prove it 100%, but in my opinion, that's the scientific theory that would explain everything we observe. All the phenomenon that we're observing, all the effects of things falling and rising, and the pressure gradient and the density layers, and the fact that we have weight, you know, all of that aligns perfectly with that. So therefore, in my opinion, it's the real scientific theory to why things fall. You know, it's the earth pressing up against our feet. Again, it can't be proven. That's why I say it's a scientific theory. Any other claim, you know, especially if they're saying that the object, it moves through space, you know, because of its weight, I would say that's just a theory, like gravity, like mass attracting mass. There's nothing practical to back that up. You can't recreate that, you know, so therefore, you know, that's why it's just a theory. Hey, what's up? Yeah, just testing the students' common sense. Are you guys a student here? Yeah. Yeah?
I don't trust my common sense.
I mean, it's what kept you alive this whole time. If you ask me, it's what helps you cross the street. You know, it's all our senses, you know? You don't trust your common sense?
Are these like trick questions?
Well, it's about making people think. You know, you guys want to give it a shot?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay, so it's 3 elementary level questions. The first one is the hardest, but then they get easier.
Elementary?
Elementary level, yeah. I've had 8-year-olds answer them correct. At least 2 of the 3 correct. Okay.
8-year-olds?
Yeah. So, I have 2 images here. And the reason I call them images is because one of them's a photograph and one of them's a painting.
Okay.
So I want to see if people can tell the difference.
That's a painting.
Okay.
That's a photo.
Okay.
I'm gonna say the opposite.
Okay, fair enough. It's actually a trick question. They're both paintings. So, yeah, I don't expect...
We should have put 2 and 2 together.
I thought you were, because, you know, you started off with that, but no. But
this one looks like a painting, though.
No, yeah, they're both paintings, actually. So I don't expect people to get this one, because it's impossible to tell. But there is 2 reasons why I asked this question. It has to do with common sense. Okay. The first reason is just believing someone opens the door to being deceived. Because you believe me that one's a photograph, that influenced your choice, right?
Yeah, the option makes it difficult to answer.
Exactly, too. And then the second reason is, obviously, if I can lie to you, the images will eventually lie to you, because if I showed you an image of me flying or me carrying an elephant, for example, would you believe I could do those things? No. So in other words, if one determines something is real, an image is not good enough. You know what I'm saying? So that's the second reason, you know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So who is that guy right there?
This one, I don't know, but obviously, you know, this is just a random guy that someone just drew.
Okay.
This is an oil painting, by the way, but
of course.
Yeah. So the next.
Now I see what we're doing here.
Yeah. So the next 2, they're not your question, but you don't have to believe me. But they actually have to do with physics, elementary physics, water. Very simple. Okay. For example, water always has to be contained. For example, like in this bottle, and water will always go to its lowest point and level out. For example, I could change the orientation of the bottle, but water always shows us the direction of down and always levels out. You know, in other words, water only has one orientation. Yeah. So since we understand the fact about water, that it always goes down, right? I painted the water blue with food coloring just to make it easier to see the water. But since we understand water always goes down, how I'm showing you these 2 images, which one is upside down?
Ooh, okay. Phenomenal question.
wait, which side? What do you mean upside
Yeah,
down?
so one of these images is actually upside down. I'm showing it to you. But if you're paying attention to the water, you're going to be able to figure it out. Which one is upside down?
It's this one. No?
I'm gonna say neither. I'm gonna say there's a substance in this one, like oil, that makes the water.
Oil.
You know how oil and water don't like mix?
Yeah, but oil is not that clear.
Yeah, you
It's
are.
not gonna
No, yeah,
float
it's empty from the bottom. That's
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
swear.
So which one is upside down of the two images?
I think this one.
So you think this
I
image is
think-
upside down?
Okay, wait. When you ask like, yeah, I'm gonna go.
So
with
okay, I'm gonna try to make it easier. I took a picture of obviously the water, but it's blue. I took one like this and one like this. Can you show me which one is the one that I took upside down?
I'm gonna just say this one's upside down.
Okay. I'm gonna explain to you. This one is the correct one, and I'm gonna explain to you why. Because I can never get the water to stick to the top of the bottle, and the water is obviously on top of this one. So I actually took it like this. I was holding it up to the ceiling, so I took that picture like this, holding it up to the ceiling, just to make it a little trickier. I put the same background. You know what I'm saying?
John, you're eating me up so far.
And I understand you guys probably overthought this one just because of the first trick question, but most people do get it, you know. But again, the water can't stick to the top of the bottle.
Worse. Most people get it.
No, I mean, you know,
Dumbass.
no. Some people do overthink it though. A lot of people do
Yeah, I
overthink it.
overthink.
No, yeah, it's not a bad thing all the time, but you know,
That's pretty bad right now.
this last one, okay, this one's the easiest one. So, water always finding its level. You guys
Okay.
have heard of that, right?
Yeah.
What could be another word for level?
Ooh, so you got this.
Another word for
Another word for level, like it's just like a spirit level, right?
balance.
Okay, that's a good one. Horizontal will be the proper definition because if I have a straight line that's on a slope, it's not level, it's a slope. So it has to be a horizontal straight line, and that's what level means. So since we understand that fact about water that it always finds its level, this one's the easiest one, by the way. Which one of these two represents level as we know it when we're looking at the water? A or B?
Level, looking at the water.
When you're looking at the water, yeah, which one represents level? Yeah, do you agree with her?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the obvious one, right? So the real reason I do this is because over 95% of the population, including myself and maybe you guys, have been tricked to believing this is the answer, even though we know it's this one. You know, this. You guys want to know how we were tricked?
How so?
Do you guys believe the Earth is a ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So NASA in specific, they claim to have satellites orbiting the Earth, right? So they claim to know the radius of the Earth. So they do tell us the radius of the Earth. You know, they're supposedly going around it. The radius is 3,959 miles, which gives us a circumference of 24,101, which means there has to be curvature every mile based on those numbers they're giving us. And the numbers are: the first mile is an 8-inch drop, second mile 32 inches, by the third mile there should be 6 feet of curvature, and every mile it just keeps increasing. So in 10 miles there should be 66 feet. So if we actually went out in nature like a giant lake to measure for this curvature, the water, in my opinion, is going to show us that it's going to be parallel, you know, or horizontal to anything, you know, horizontal above it. But they're trying to tell us that water, the surface of water, is bending 6 feet in 3 miles and increasing every mile after that. So this will be the #1 experiment, in my opinion, to debunk the globe, a physical measurement of the Earth. You know what I'm saying? A lake in specific, you know, there's no waves, you know. So if I was to ask you guys, what's the #1 proof or reason that makes you believe that the Earth is a ball?
Earth is round.
Yeah, that the Earth is a ball. What's the #1 thing or reason that makes you believe that?
I mean, with science
say
told
it.
us.
So what you were
every
told?
other planet is
Okay.
round.
You would say the stars in the sky. So what we were told
and
about.
then, like Earth's rotation and gravity.
Okay.
Like it just.
Okay. So Earth's rotation. Okay. So you said it's just what science says.
Yeah, but that's like pretty big.
Okay. So science. When we're talking about science, there's three branches of science. There's natural science, which is the objective world we see, which has to do with physics, biology, chemistry. It has to do with substance, measuring things. Then there's formal science, which has to do with language-based concepts. So the globe is formal science. It's not natural science. So it only exists on paper. So when you're talking about gravity and the rotation of the Earth, all of those things only exist on paper. Because when you actually go out in nature to physically measure the Earth's rotation, it fails. You know, or measure Earth's curvature, is not there. It only exists again through a TV screen or through GoPro cameras like this. You know what I'm saying? You know, so yeah. Here's an image of the horizon without a GoPro lens, 20 miles in the sky, which is 4 or 5 times higher than commercial airplanes fly. And the horizon is always horizontal, and it always rises to the level of the observer. So if the horizon was supposedly the curve of the Earth, because they try to say that that's the curvature of the Earth, that's why you can't see beyond it, then the higher we rise, the lower we should look on the horizon.
Yeah.
But the fact is that the horizon rises with you, and you're able to see further in front of you and not below you. So yeah. So we're only increasing our angle of view. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're able to see further when we increase altitude. But again, the horizon rises with you as well, which shouldn't happen on a globe. You know? If that's the geometry of the curvature of the Earth, it should stay fixed. You know, but the reality is that the horizon is just the limit of perspective. It's just how far we can see. And by increasing our altitude, we increase the angle of view, and again, we increase how far we can see. And that's it. It's just optics. The horizon is just optical. You know, it's apparent. Yeah. So nobody knows how far the Earth extends. Oh shit. Yeah, nobody knows how far the Earth actually extends. So that's a mystery. So I'm actually doing this because I actually do want to find out what this place actually is. You know, because one of the reasons why they lied to us about this is kind of to disconnect us from that this place was created by. I'm not religious myself. I think all religions are there to control. In the heliocentric model, the ball Earth, it's the biggest religion. I'm gonna tell you why. What do all religions have in common? A creation story. They have a creation, and they all basically tell you how to live and how you should live, right? That's government. They give us a creation story through the evolution, through the Big Bang, just like any other religion has their own version of a creation story, right? The fact is, nobody knows how this place came to be, So I don't know if there is a way to find that out. I don't think there is. How can you go, back in time to see how this place was created? I think that's a lot. Like, it's kind of dumb to try to figure it out, how this place was created. But they know that fact, so that they use that fact basically to trick us, because nobody actually knows, what this place actually is, other than the fact that it was intended for us. Physics proves that this place was created. You guys heard of the first law of thermodynamics? No? So the first law of thermodynamics is energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only transform from one form to another. So that debunks the idea of that Big Bang that came from nothing, basically. So that law debunks the theory of the Big Bang, basically. And it's funny how the mainstream debunks itself, basically, with all these claims, for example. Second law of thermodynamics is that it has to do with entropy. With pressure, high pressure will always move to the lower pressure area unless there's a solid barrier separating the two. That's why, when you have a leak on your tire in your car, the air just rushes out because of entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. So they're trying to tell us that outer space is a negative pressure next to Earth's pressure without a container. So that defies physics as well, the whole idea of outer space. Because the Earth needs to be physically contained if we have air pressure, which we do. It's 14.7 allegedly, the pressure we have here on Earth. So, anything above that, you're going to need a container to separate it, or anything below it. Again, if you want to create a vacuum, you need like a solid cube to be able to suck all the air out, and that's how you create a vacuum. So the fact that vacuum, they're saying, is an open system, vacuums have to be closed systems. So again, outer space is just made up. It's just an idea. Nobody knows what this place actually is. We were lied to about the whole cosmology, not just the shape of the Earth. So, yeah. So you guys heard of this topic before, right? Flat Earth? Pretty sure you guys heard of flat Earth. Yeah, I stay away from flat Earth because that's one of the ways they're censoring this. That's one of so they're just grouping people like me into a group just to ridicule and to misrepresent. You know what I'm saying? So it's just tactics, that any manipulator is going to use. They're going to divert from the real science, which is measurable, testable and repeatable. And the physics of water is the #1 proof. You know what I'm saying? Have I give you guys a flyer? No, not yet. Here, you guys can take one just in case, you guys are interested, because it is being censored. So if you go on Google and YouTube and just type in flat Earth or Google or ball Earth lie, you're going to get nothing but controlled opposition and misrepresenting, So this is something you guys can go and cross-reference. Don't believe anything I'm saying. Don't believe anyone, that anyone says. I would, use your own discernment and understand physics. Understanding physics is what's going to be the key to understanding this reality. So I appreciate you guys talking. Yeah, you too. All right, man. All right, that's going to have to be it. Yeah, my alarm was going off on my watch. I thought I was getting a call. It kind of threw me off a bit in the beginning. I forgot I put an alarm at 2 hours. Alright, let me see. Yeah, I'm gonna start wrapping it up soon already. Alright, I'm gonna start packing. See if there's anything on the chat real quick though. They are shook a little bit, yeah. Almost brain farted in the beginning when I was asking the photographer painting. Again, it's because my watch started going off. I thought it was a phone call, but it was actually my alarm. Forgot I put it. Hashtag 33 equals hoax. Alright, let me start putting some stuff away. Oof. Gotta use the John already too. Is that what it's called? Yeah, they still have my equipment when I was arrested. Yeah, that's true. It's been 6 months already, and they still haven't filed my case. They're just gonna hold it the whole 12 months, I think, and then they might file or it might get dropped. I think it's just gonna get dropped. All right, man. That's gonna be it. Everybody take care, and see you on the next one. Peace.